Greetings and welcome to another Malifaux battle report. Since the tournament yesterday, I've had about 12 and a half hours sleep, and more importantly, 2 sizable cups of tea, or at least by the time I finish this, that will be true. So, without further ado, let's dive into some details. This one was hosted in the Czech Republic in Prerov, which is up towards Poland, and as a result we had a fair few Polish attendants, and that was a real joy for me, and I think really brought a whole element to the tournament that was had been missing from some of our local events recently, which is international attendance. And that's nobody's fault, obviously. With adult lives, it's quite tricky to make journeys that are 4, 5+ hours just to go and play with some toy soldiers for a day. But when we were able to sort of get together in a place where logistically it meant it was sort of a 2-3 hour drive for most people rather than 5-6, suddenly we find ourselves with, I think we had, let's have a quick look, I brought Longshanks up in advance and then immediately lost it. Let's find it. There it is. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Poles, 1 Ukrainian guy, we had 1, 2 Slovaks, and the rest Czech, for a total of 16 players. Obviously a pretty ideal number of people for a small-ish event, and I think 16's nice and tidy from a pairings point of view, and makes the event really shine in terms of you've got enough people where you can avoid locals meeting each other, you can get enough rounds where you can sort of really get a better idea of who's doing well and who's not on the day, and so on and so forth. So that was great. As usual, we're going to start with a breakdown of the sort of the tournament itself, and then we'll get into the games. So this was a new venue for our meta. We haven't had a tournament there that I'm aware of, and I asked around and I don't think anyone had been there before, at least from our meta in Brno. So the venue was fantastic. It was spread over a couple of rooms, so there was sort of one table tucked away in a little room, most of the tables in one area, but even there it was a very, very spacious place. I am currently on crutches because of a volleyball accident, and you know, normally in a tabletop gaming tournament, that's a real problem because you've got people moving around with trays of models, and you've got bags and straps everywhere, and it's really, really easy to fall over when both of your legs are working. So to have enough space to move around really comfortably, really comfortable chairs as well, not like shitty high school chairs. I mean, obviously a few of those around, but there were some genuinely, really, really comfy. And the fact that just came to my mind out of nowhere, I've not made any notes or anything, sort of gives you an idea. Some really, really good stuff. So spacious, good air, good light, enough space for your models and cards if you were using them, and all that sort of stuff. Brilliant. Location-wise, again, fantastic, mainly for the reason that it was close enough to Poland to allow 2 metas to meet. And the reason that I think that was so special was because the amount of times I heard during the day, oh, I met something I've never met before, or I've never seen that, or I've never heard of that, or we never play that. All those little comments, that they really, really just bring a smile to my face, because that's perfect. That's what you want. That makes both metas stronger, and it just, and that's not even before you get into the social side of being a bit more friendly with your neighbors, and I just love it. I really love it. I really love being able to sort of meet different metas and play with them, and so so that was fantastic. Right, I'm going to try and stop blathering on about that, but that was the reason why the location was good. The town itself, the parking was a little bit of a nightmare from what I saw and heard. Not as maybe as easy as some of us expected it might be for a fairly small place. But we found a place, and we weren't that far away from the venue. There was some, the square was pretty close for finding some food options. Although I should say it's close for someone whose legs were working. I'm an absolute idiot. I should have just asked someone to go and get me something, take away. But instead, I crutched my way up a hill and ended up like doing a full arms day workout just to go and get lunch. In fact, I was so hungry when I got there, I ordered 2 lunches and then wolfed both of them. And then that made it even harder to go back down again because I was completely full of 2 meals. Not my finest day. Also, I'd kind of forgotten a little bit what day it was, because again, like, I've had no work schedule, I've had no schedule, I've just been sort of just going, ow, my foot hurts for 5 days. So, I'd sort of forgotten that the tournament was really like that morning, and the previous night I was playing testing Ash's models till 2 in the morning. So suddenly I have to wake up at 7 and I get about 4 hours sleep, and then had to play. Good news was the Polish guys had arrived the night before and gone drinking heavily on Czech beer and dumplings and all the rest of it. So they had a fantastic evening and really enjoyed themselves. Got a taste of the Czech culture and literally, and then met up with a similar amount of sleep to me. So I felt like we were on even ground, and that was good. Right, that's enough about that. What else about venue and organisation? Main organizer Kafer was kind enough to sort of have himself as a reserve player, so he was going to try and make sure that there was no bye, but he was happy not to play if that would, get people their games. If that was the case here. So I think that's a really dedicated move from any TO, is to say, right, I can play and organize at the same time if that will help, and I can sit out and just be the organizer if that will help. I think that's a genuine sort of sacrifice to make, and I realize it's more of a sacrifice for some people than others, because some people are very happy to just sort of walk around and chat and be a judge and all the rest. But yeah, that was good. He was a mindful judge, so the rules that he knew, he called, and the rules that he didn't, he consulted with other sort of top players that he could ask, and then ruled based on that. So he wasn't sort of, some judges and some TOs feel the pressure to know all the rules and feel the pressure to be the authority, and so they're not willing to say I don't know, and so they just make a ruling or a judgment on the spot, and that can very often lead to a bit of drama and so on. So I think having confidence in yourself, knowing a lot of the rules and so on is great, but also knowing your limits and being willing to ask around is, in my opinion, a very good way to go. So that was good from him, and instructions were minimal but clear, and the timing of the event, so rounds started on time, good amount of time for lunch, good organisation, quick awards ceremony at the end, so the people who were traveling could get going. I thought it was all very, very good. He was aided by his 2 locals. I think I don't exactly know the geography of where everybody is, but I think Vojta Hulk is a local to that area, and also, was it Treves? I'm not sure. Libor. I think he might be local to the area as well. So I think I saw a lot of them doing a lot of work getting the tables ready. The tables were very good. I think they had a variety of styles. They had some interesting elements. For example, one of the tables I played round 1 had a combination of crates, cloud, crate, and a bigger thing to create this sort of long line of loss blocking directly in the middle of the table, and that became very impactful. You really had to think about that in your strategy scheme and crew choices in a meaningful way. It didn't completely ruin the game. You weren't thinking, oh my god, we just can't play in the middle. No, but you had to be aware that you were going to be facing someone that could hide just behind a cloud and pop in and out of it, and so on and so forth, and then act accordingly. So I thought that was cool. The tables had variety; they had themes to them, in the sense of the each individual bit of terrain usually had some thematic connection with the others. I know that on my personal table at home, it's just any old shit. You've got Japanese stuff right next to industrial stuff, next to medieval stuff, next to whatever that I happen to have around, because for me it's more important which terrain traits are available and to have a good balance of those. But in this case, I know that a lot of people really enjoy the visual aspect, and that was definitely there. Right. That was the event and the organisation. I thought it was excellent. Oh, and Vojta Hulk was there in full cosplay for Seamus 2. So we had the bouquet of flowers, the weapon, the suit. I think he had the hat with him as well somewhere. It was fantastic. And then for a laugh, I also have to give him credit because I weigh 100 kilos. I am not light. And at one stage he offered, as a gentleman, to sort of carry me across the room. And I said, yeah, right. And then he did, and spun me around and then took me back and put me back in my chair. So that was very funny and also genuinely quite impressive because that isn't exactly the easiest lift position. I've done it and yeah, cool. Really enjoyed it. Really funny. Great event. All right, on to the games. Round one, I faced up. By the way, I was going in with Shen as my idea. So for those who might have been following what I've been doing recently, for the last 2 months, I would say approximately, I moved away from Lin and on to Shen because I wanted to really, really drill down into that keyword, get a feel for what's going on, get a feel for all the options and which schemes and strategies and pools and tables he'd be good into, and I wanted to get so many games to be able to do that, and I have done that. So I've played an extraordinary amount of Shen games in the last couple of months, at home, on Vassal, and in tournaments. So this was, in my head, going to be the last event where I soloed Shen regardless, and then after that I was going to go back to sort of picking based on pool rather than picking based on I'm playing Shen today. And as a result, I went into round one and picked Shen, and then had a look at the pool and sort of saw, right, what are we doing with Shen? And my opponent was Oldedesse, or Oldes, I don't know how to pronounce that, and he was the Ukrainian player, and I had never faced him before, so I didn't know who he was, and I didn't know his level at all, But I get the impression we have met, and if you're watching, I'm so sorry because I feel like we've met, and I feel like I should know more, but I didn't. And I think I've seen the name on different tournaments around, but we haven't played, I'm pretty sure. And so we met round one, which is where you tend to sort of randomly meet, and so I just assumed that we hadn't met because it was a player that was more likely to be lower down on the rankings, and I'm usually trying to aim for the higher tables, and perhaps we just hadn't met because we hadn't been at the same brackets. And so I'm thinking, right, okay, we'll get a nice warm-up game with Shen, we'll move on to round two, and then we'll start really fighting for this event. Not the case at all. Not even vaguely true. So and then he declares Sandeep, and I'm thinking, shit. Sandeep 2, we're on wedge deployment, we're on that table that I spoke about with lost blocking in the middle. I'm thinking maybe he's got a plan to sort of get to the side of it and really start launching pyres down. So I'm thinking, right, what am I going to take here that I can really spread out, avoid the pyres and so on? And then I see it's Sandeep 1. And in my brain, we move straight back to that narrative that I'd already it's like, oh, well, it's just a new player who just enjoys playing Sandeep 1. It's probably going to be full keyword, and we can just stomp and kill whatever's in front of us and move on to round two. Lovely stuff. No, wrong. wrong. So he plays Sandeep 1 because he has more experience with him, and because he knows him well, and because people don't expect Sandeep 1. And Sandeep 1 relies a fair amount, it seems, on summoning, and then, for example, summoning Poison Gammon and blowing them up in your face and doing a lot of AoE, ping 2, ping 1, damage, poison everybody, etc. And sorry that I keep drinking mid-recording, but my voice has gone a little bit after yesterday, and I'm just trying to keep it strong for the recording. And I've got a podcast coming up as well, so I need to... I've got 2, actually. Anyway, right. So he summons a lot, and so people with anti-summon tech, for example, 10 Thunder's Charm Warders, would just bring those against Sandeep 1 and chuckle a little bit. I don't think it would be an auto... I don't think, like, if you have a Charm Warder, you suddenly win against Sandeep, but they would fucking help. And not just because of anti-summon exorcism stuff, and not because when they get summoned near them they take 2 damage, but because you can drain his hand, and Arcanists have very, very few problems, but the one that they do have is drawing cards, and that is a pretty important problem to have. And that's why Damien's... Anyway, we're not going to go on about Damien. Well, we probably are, but not right now. So, Sandeep 1 was the declaration. I decided to go with Shen. The pool was Stuff the Ballots and Wedge. We'd let them bleed, hold up their forces, ensnare, sweating bullets, and outflank. I had been playing a lot with Fermented River Monks with Shen, particularly on Hold Up Their Forces, because 2-inch reach allows you to engage other people's scheme runners while still being able to vote yourself if they don't have a 2-inch reach themselves. And then if they just engage you, you can bonus to push yourself 1 inch away and then sometimes vote. So I find Fermented River Monks really handy for potentially holding down and living for a while, being annoying and scoring Stuff the Ballots. And they're cheap, they only cost 6, and as a result that makes Hold Up Their Forces and Fermenteds on Stuff the Ballots quite tempting, so I decided to go for that approach. And then Ensnare with Shen is a very, very easy scheme to score both start and end points. Start point, you use 4 Winds Punch to push a model, and then any scheme marker that was within 3 of that model when it started the push can be placed within 3 of that model when it finishes the push. So you simply take 3, get a couple of scheme markers set up, push a model up 6, and then take those scheme markers and put them within 3 of both the model that was pushed and the model you wish to ensnare. And that's very easy. And then the end point, you've got Shen himself can interact to drop a scheme marker, then move either via 4 Winds Punch or via walk, and then he can bonus himself for another interact. So you can very easily get 2 scheme markers down near whatever you want. And Shen himself is quite tricky to kill usually, so not a problem. Except it was a problem. So my opponent starts off, I have no idea what he's doing, but again, my narrative of this won't be that hard, so no problem, I'll just kill whatever comes at me and then score later. So what came at me was an ice golem. So he had 3 gamin. Apparently, Sandeep 1 can turn those into a golem. So he suddenly creates an ice golem, and then he places that golem. Not entirely sure how, but there was some placing and some pushing. So he activates the golem, puts up the 4-inch hazardous 2 aura using an ice pillar that a gamin had created. Then he pushes that golem into my face. Right. That's a problem. I've taken Fuhatsu along with my Fermented River Monks and Sensei Yu and Desper. So I'm thinking, right, I do want to steal some stones at some stage, but I also need to make sure I'm on top of strategy. And of course, now I've got this golem in my face, so I'm going to have to deal with that. Good news was, I was thinking, right, well, it gives me something to do with Fuhatsu, right? So Shen goes, he bonuses my student to 4 Winds Punch me out of the aura. That unfortunately does make me take 4 damage because I have to take a bonus action myself, and then my student takes an action as a result of that and pushes me, so that push does count as a separate action, so I do take 2 pings of the hazardous. Ouch. Shen takes 4. Honestly, very often I play games where Shen takes 4 anyway because I punch him twice with Sensei, so I'm used to Shen being a bit damaged. It's fine. Then he goes and gives the double focus that I've set up on the other student. He passes that over to Fuhatsu, so Fuhatsu's now ready. And I was thinking, right, well, shooting this golem doesn't make a lot of sense with Shen. You know, it's not irreducible. He's got armor 2. I don't really have focus right now because I didn't have the tomes to focus myself with my bonus, and I didn't want to take my bonus multiple times while standing in a hazardous 2 aura. So the shooting didn't really make sense. I could just concentrate, but it didn't really make sense. So instead, I transferred the fast that Sensei Yu had handed out, and I thought I'll give that to Fuhatsu again, so that she can really... sorry, I have the misfusion Fuhatsu, so I sometimes say she. So that she can really blast the hell out of this golem and get him out of my face. Opponent then manages to move the golem in again. Into all the way in this time into Fuhatsu range, into Shen, into everybody, but I've not got many models left to activate, and I've got Fuhatsu, and he didn't engage Fuhatsu critically, so Fuhatsu was able to go, and I did have the cards at that stage to essentially just blow the golem up. So severe with crit and then severe without crit is 7 and 6, which becomes 5 and 4, which is exactly the golem. Fuhatsu takes 4 damage doing that, 2 and 2, so 1 and 1 because of armor, and then Juggernauts to heal it back. So not a problem. Fuhatsu's deleted a golem, and I'm thinking, right, this game's going exactly as I thought. You know, I didn't know what he was going to do. He surprised me a bit, but we just kill what's in front of us and score later. Great. Except he then comes in with is it the Czech word for cunt is kunda, and now I've got it in my head, especially since our team name is Team Kundi. But is it Kandra? I'm not. Oh God, I can't remember. Anyway, he comes in with some model that Sandeep uses that I've never seen, and then he comes in with Banasuva with a Soulstone cache, and he really starts getting in my face and putting some pressure on Shen. But because Kandra, I'm calling it Kandra for this cast, and you just have to deal with it. So Kandra has Serene Countenance, and I have Fermented River Monks in my list, and I also have Fermented River Style. When I change to that, I can give all of my Fermented River Monks a free focus or chi, and I get positives where I would otherwise get negatives. So with focus, I was going in with double pos to hit and single pos to damage on this model, and also my Fermented River Monks all got focus so that I could go and deal some damage with them later on as well. So I thought, this is too good to pass up. I'm going to go into Fermented Style, and I'm going to beat the shit out of this model, whatever it is, and maybe chew through some stones and chew through this model, which is exactly what Shen did. Fantastic. Problem is, he's then stood there. He's already taken 4 damage earlier, as I mentioned, and he's taken a bit of pressure elsewhere, and so my opponent essentially just said, right, okay, so you haven't got any healing, have you? I didn't have a low river monk in the list. I've become quite used to getting along with just low river style and a couple of students, but Shen had already activated. He was not in low river style, and I didn't have a low river monk, so no healing available for him. I had very limited stones because I had Desper and the intention to steal stones, but in the end, Desper had probably been one of my mistakes this game, hadn't really done what he was supposed to do and wasn't in the right position to do so. So I made a mistake there, and he jumped on it. So he just went with Sandeep. He summoned a Poison Gammon. He blew it up in my face, dealt 2, dealt 1. He activated it first with his bonus, I think that's how it works. It does something else. I have no idea what Sandeep, you can tell, I have no idea what he was doing, but he was doing lots and lots of damage is what he was doing, and I had sort of piled into the middle with Shen, with Sensei, with Desper, and they were just all taking lots and lots of damage and poison. Not a lot of poison, but they took poison, which is another damage, so they were just taking damage upon damage upon damage, and the pressure was really getting to me. So I went and tried to murder Banasuva and managed to do it. Some jokers went in my favor. That's going to be a theme of this game, by the way. And I managed to kill Banasuva unactivated. So now I'm thinking, right, I've killed Golem before it did anything much. I've killed Banasuva before it activated and it had a Soulstone cache. I've chewed through all of his Soulstones, and I've got my Fermented River Monks moving out towards the edges to do what they're supposed to do and control these areas. This is going great. We should be fine. And then Shen dies, so he just manages to get to Shen. I can't remember how he did it, but he basically blew the hell out of Shen. Maybe start of next activation, he won initiative, and then went with Sandeep again and just boomed my entire crew one more time. Put Desper on incredibly low health, damaged Sensei a lot, and killed Shen. Several problems. One, I hadn't scored in Snare yet, and I hadn't had time because I was thinking kill first, score later. I hadn't set up the scheme markers. I didn't have 4 Winds Punch anymore. So the first point of Ensnare became really tricky. Really tricky. And then Desper was dying. I didn't have any stones, and I couldn't get any more stones. I had you kind of stuck in the middle. I had his Sandeep, an Oxfordian mage, controlling the centre ballot, and he had 2 Wind Gammon going out to the side ballots. I tried to send Fermented River Monks to deal with those and sort of managed to do that. But the problem is now he hasn't got that many models. I've killed too many models that were expensive, and so now Hold Up Their Forces has become really difficult to score as well, because my cheap guys, my Fermenteds, cost the same as his cheap guys, his Wind Gammon. So I did eventually manage to score it, because I brought, I think it was a Fermented River Monk back towards Sandeep, and I managed to get a Terracotta Warrior over to a Wind Gammon. So I managed to score 1 point of Hold Up Their Forces. I managed to score a point of stuff the ballots, didn't manage to get the ensnare, and now we're getting into the late game. Sandeep's still alive and putting out a reasonable amount of damage every turn, like really genuinely quite a lot, kills off Desper. And I just don't have the AP to do what I need to do. Fortunately, as I said, it's not like he's not gone without casualties himself. So we're on very low model counts, and he simply couldn't score much himself. The thing that really saved me was that twice his Sandeep black jokered. I think it was his bonus, because he didn't try and do it again, which suggests that it probably was his bonus. So he black jokered his bonus twice. I red jokered on damage pretty much every turn of the game at some stage. I mean, my list is designed to throw lots and lots of attacks, staggering punches everywhere, and Sensei U. So I am fishing for the red joker to happen, but to have it happen every time reliably is still very, very good. And it was happening in really good places, and it was happening sometimes on defense, so he couldn't cheat, so he couldn't get the attacks through that he needed. And that happened over on the right side, where there was a fermented and a gamin sort of fighting over one ballot, and that really mattered, because of course that's +1 -1 point either way. And the red joker or the black joker, I think it was red joker, saved me. And as a result, we ended up in a tie, and it really shouldn't have been. So actually, he should have won by 1, maybe 2 points, which is incredible to me, given the opening of killing the golem and then murdering Banasuva. So I need to really pay a bit more respect to Sandeep and go and read his card and his models a lot more and be a lot more ready for it next time. I know that I certainly won't be bunching up in a large ball with all of my important models next time, and I'll be focusing a little bit more on scoring earlier. And I also think I'll be killing Sandeep himself, because I don't think his defensive capability for Sandeep 1 is particularly good. So, yeah. Very interesting game. Ended up being a draw, and so we move into round 2. Round 2 is against one of the two Slovak guys, so Juraj. We've faced each other quite a few times now, and he very largely plays Tara against me, often because I played Yoko and he wanted to have a chance to play, without activation control going against him, or because he knew that I was going to be playing Lin and he wanted good in-keyword answers to Wukong, who is otherwise an absolute menace. So he has good reasons to play Tara, but this time he knew that I'd been playing Shen, and exclusively Shen, for quite a long time, and I'd played Shen in round 1, so he had no reason to suspect that I was going to switch, and so he declared victorious. So you've got these sort of 2 stat 7 beaters, which against monks who are relying on chi to get to stat 7 and be able to sort of defend themselves. Very good choice. And then he's got access to Taylor for another stat 7, so 3 big stat 7 killers against monks. Solid idea. Problem is that I didn't declare Shen, I declared Lin. And the reason for that was actually out of respect. So Juraj is a very good player, and in his hometown there's one other very good player, Christoph, and other than that, it's a very friendly and casual meta who are not on the same level as those two players. They might be, and they might get there, but at the moment, the only competitive games that they get to play are tournaments and against each other. And so in the previous tournament, I had been, I'd declared non-Thunders for the first time ever, and I was playing Explorers, and I was trying to do some like casual achievements, and I was soloing Maxine 2 and trying to kill the opponent's master every game, and playing a fixed list so he knew exactly what crew I was playing, and so on and so forth. And in other words, I didn't give him a very good game. He absolutely slapped me with Tara about 7-2, I think. And I felt a bit bad about that, because it's the one chance that he gets for competitive games every now and then, and I'd sort of come in with a non-competitive approach to that game. And so this game, I didn't want to do that again, and so I didn't want to just auto-declare Shen and use it as a test for me. I've tested Shen enough these days, and I wanted to give him a proper game where I really played the pool and the table and the faction the best I could. And when I looked at it, I thought, this is Lin. This is a Lin pool and a Lin game. So I declared Lin. I took Lin 1 because Information Overload and Protected Territory were both in the pool, and I thought I have an unbelievable ability to piss out scheme markers everywhere, bookkeepers, Wukong and Rabbit and Lin herself. So let's go with a very schemy approach with Lin and spread out and go from there. It was also Cloak and Dagger. We had Power Ritual, In Your Face, Information Overload, Deathbeds, and Protected Territory. I assumed that he was taking one of the killy ones because he's playing Vix, and then if I was him, I would take Protected Territory most of the time because it's a pretty easy scheme to score regardless of what you're playing. In crew selection, I was thinking, why can't you take 4 bookkeepers? God, I'd love to have 4 bookkeepers. But since I couldn't take 4 bookkeepers, I decided I'd have 3 bookkeepers and Desper. It's been quite a long time since I played Lin 1. I was playing Shen for a long time, and then I was playing Lin 2 for a long time. And so prior to that was Lin 1, and that's been quite a while now, or lots and lots of games, let's say, between now and then. So I'd forgotten that what I used to have as my go-to was a Wandering River Monk, and then you've got yourself 3 stones, which is just enough to keep Map alive, just long enough to be thoroughly irritating and probably not worth it. And so, but in this game, I thought, right, I'll take Desper, I'll go 0 stones, which is bold brackets stupid. And then I'll steal the stones that I need and hopefully just waste his time dealing with Desper, who will then try and leap away and run away and force him to chase, or come back in, steal his stones, and then tank it with stone reduction, stuff like that. Meanwhile, Lin 1 and Map will just make a bubble of misery near the Cloak and Dagger markers, and my bookmarkers and my bookkeepers and Rabbit will run amok, putting scheme markers everywhere, scoring Information Overload for free along with Wukong. I've got the Paper Tiger to move things around and also leap about and grab Cloak and Dagger tokens or place schemes as necessary, and everything should be peachy. My opponent took Vix along with Taylor, 2 Ronin who sort of ran down the outsides of the table to get that extra movement if they're near the table edge. So he had 2 Cloak and Dagger markers near the edges and just ran the Ronin down the sides. He had the Prospector in the far corner faking out the Power Ritual, which I think is pretty standard Outcasts play and good. And then he had Bishop, who was, along with Taylor, sort of going into my face and trying to cause me some problems. And that was about it. I can't remember what the rest of it was, if there was anything more. Game opened up. Ronin came down the sides, and I immediately started messing with them with bookkeepers and with the Rabbit. So the Rabbit just walk charge 12 inches and took a little nom out of one of the Ronin. You're on double negatives, so I can quite often get to 1, 2, or 3 damage in and then threaten to do the same again next turn. So if you've not got much healing, the Rabbit can be really annoying. And then on the other side, I reactivated a bookkeeper and then charged that bookkeeper at him to do paper cuts, and that's 1, 2, 2, and then +1 if they don't have a scheme marker near them, so 2, 3, 3. So just taking little chomps out of the Ronin, and trying to do that on both sides so that regardless of who goes first in the next turn, I'll have the chance to kill an unactivated model. Then, during the start phase, I unfortunately made a mistake, and I was using Split Focus, which is Lin 1's ability to give library models slow in order to take a general or melee action. It doesn't say general non-charge action, so I decided to charge. Turns out you're not allowed to do that because it is the start phase, and charge is a once per activation action, and you can't take per activation actions in the start phase because it's not an activation. So the wording on the ability, in my opinion, is bad, and it should say a non-charge general action. I can see the argument for why it shouldn't have to say that because the core rules prevent it, but I can also see why people would very easily get confused. I know because I did, and would then use it to charge. So I feel bad, really bad, because I charged several times using that ability. Not massively consequential charges, and the game in the end was massively in my favor, so it didn't sort of win me the game as such, but it certainly didn't hurt. So I've already apologized to my opponent, but once again, sorry, you're all right, and hopefully we won't see that happen again. He with Vix we both agreed after the game should have run straight towards Map and Lin and my Paper Tiger and just... Oh, he had Kenshiro. That was his last model, Kenshiro. And he should have just run towards my bubble and tried to just slice me to death with stat 7. And I think it would have probably worked. There's an argument for how fast it would have worked, but it would have worked, and then I would have been less able to dominate strategy. I think I would have still scored all of my schemes, but I would have been less able to dominate strategy and less able to threaten to steal his tokens whenever he took them. At a certain point, he just gave up on strategy and tried to score schemes. But instead, he sort of really tried to hunt down my Desper and Bookkeepers and threaten the left side of the table and left me to sort of bubble up in the center right of the table. And unfortunately, he was not able to catch my schemy guys because they were running all the way around the edges and generally leaping and ignoring terrain and running away. And Bookkeepers are annoyingly tricky to kill. They've got 6 wounds and shielded. And if they're near Map, he can take damage for them. And they've got well-versed, so you often need to commit resources to killing them. And then because I'm Lin 1, I have 1 million cards every turn, and so I'm almost always going to be able to cheat above you if you don't really go for it. So you really need to commit onto Bookkeepers, and you don't want to because they're not that good, except they are. So his approach turned out to be the wrong one, and as a result, I was able to run amok, run free, score both points of both points of protected territory, both points of information overload with about 18 scheme markers on the table. Not a problem. He did, however, manage to turn it around a little bit and score his own protected territory towards the end with the double Vix, so that was nice. And he was also able to score in your face, so he finally did manage to kill Map with Taylor and Kenshiro. Had a very nice little coordinated attack play with Kenshiro to get another attack with Taylor and try and take out Map. So got him in the end, and then managed to run Taylor away. And we didn't manage to reach round 5. So we were playing a bit too slowly, and we went below the minimum time threshold to play the last round. So we didn't play round 5, and so he got, I think, I don't know whether I think he was in my deploy. So yeah, he had the in your face, and then Taylor managed to run away and live. Probably would have been cleaned up the next round, but managed to live and got protected territory and got, I think, 1 strategy. Maybe 2, but probably just 1. Meanwhile, I scored 3 strategy and all the schemes, so 7 to 3 or 4, something like that, I think. So that was a great game. And one thing I will say is that because I hadn't played Lin for ages, I'd forgotten how much I bloody love Lin. Just having 1 million cards for everything at all times. You know, you've got Arcane Reservoir, so you start with 7. Your first couple of activations are your Bookkeeper getting rid of your crap cards and drawing 2 more each, and then you go with Lin and can Lost Knowledge 6 more if you so wish. It's just phenomenal. And then you've got the Rabbit that with a Crow trigger that you can reasonably gets another one, and then you've got Map with Deja Vu, the same trigger that Maddox has. So when he's attacking people, he can just incidentally sometimes draw another, well, cycle 1, draw 1. So incredible amounts of draw. And so you're just looking at an entire hand of 9+ all game, and I'd forgotten how much that is a delight. Oh, you've attacked me? No problem. Have a 10. Have you got another severe? No? Fantastic. Well, then you miss. I've got a TN. I've missed it. Not a problem. I've got 1 million cards and I can get 1 million more. And and if it's really important and I need to dodge the black, well versed. Okay, there's the black, that's gone. Have a card. I was genuinely chuckling at just the amount of draw and control over the game that I had. Library, when they get going, are a bit silly, and I think I've been neglecting Lin 1 a bit in favour of Lin 2. And maybe I shouldn't have, because Lin 1 is pretty crazily good when scheme markers are involved. Right, that's round 2. We go on to round 3 with a win and a draw, and we hit Zabek. So Zabek, one of the stronger players in Poland, and did very well in the World Series event at the end of the year, the finals, known for his Outcasts and Levy play in particular, and also for being one of the few capable of making Levy 2 kind of shine as well. And he was this time playing Bio. I'll take a quick sip of tea and then explain why. In August, there will be the Cartographer's Cup, So this is the team event, which I'm pretty confident will be the sort of world team tournament. It will be the largest team event in the world because the UK one basically sucked balls and then got cancelled. So I say cancelled, postponed. And so, yeah, the Cartographers Cup will absolutely definitely replace that one this year, and in my opinion, each year moving forwards, which is great because they didn't learn anything from their previous year's mistakes and basically copied and pasted the event. And now we've got a proper decent team tournament with clocks, with a decent pairing system, with, you know, basically everything that we asked for following the previous year's team event. However, one of the steps that they took that was a bit surprising was, instead of a 3-player event and a lot of 4-player, so 4-player teams was the UK team event last year, and there was a lot of discussion like even numbers was a bit strange, you know, that doesn't really work, we don't want draws, but maybe Malifaux isn't big enough to support 5-man teams, maybe we should go down to 3-man teams, and the guys in Warsaw just said, fuck that, we're going to 8-man teams. Which I just love it. Oh, I don't know, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I'm really not sure. 8. And then further restricted it to one of each faction. The bollocks on these guys. I love it. So you've now got to find, regardless of the size and strength of your meta, you've got to find 8 players, one of which playing every single different faction. Amazing. To counteract this, of course, what they did was basically didn't form a Polish team from the Warsaw community and offered themselves as pretty skilled mercenaries who can play all the factions in the game between those players, and so offered that essentially any team that wants to go and play in the Cartographers Cup can request a mercenary of a particular faction to fill a gap. So if you are from a country that wants to submit a team, first of all, get in touch, reach out with either me or any Polish player. They'll put you in touch with the organisers, and you can get yourselves sorted out with a team. Also, if you don't think that your meta is going to be able to reach the full 8 players, you can, of course, put yourself forward as a merc and be able to join and fill any other team that is struggling to get the whole 8 players, 8 factions thing going. So I think there are already 4 teams, maybe even more. I think there was supposed to be an announcement this weekend about further teams that are interested in probably joining as well. So I think we're going to be capped out at 80 players. So 10 teams of 8. So yeah, definitely if you're interested, get in touch, get involved, and get yourself some mercs if you need them to fill the faction spots that you don't have. I know in Czech Republic we managed to get a team in. I think we were the first to get a full team of 8 registered, but we had to get one guy to switch faction from Rezzers to Explorers because we had 2 Rezzers and no Explorers. And in Krakow, where Zabek and his team largely are from, they didn't have a bio player, so he decided to take the bullet for the team and switch to bio for the event, and so he was practicing bio at this tournament. Right, that was a hell of an intro, but I really wanted to plug the Cartographers Cup because it's probably the event that I am most excited about this whole year, apart from maybe the Malifaux World Series finals at the end of the year. The Cartographers Cup is definitely right up there for me, so I'm really, really excited, and I think that most events this year for me are basically considered as practice for that event, and then that event sort of leads on to the World Series finals, and that sort of maps out the year of Malifaux for me. So I'm delighted to have it, and I'm willing to spend a bit of time talking about it. Right, so round 3, into Zabek playing bio. He is not at all unfamiliar with Thunders. We have only played one time before, so he was training for the World Series finals last year, and or was it the World Series final? It was for a tournament at some stage, and his opponent was playing Lynch 2, and he wanted to train some Levy 2 stuff into it, and so I said, no problem, I love playing Lynch, let's go. So we played that, and he beat my Lynch, which I feel like my Lynch is reasonably strong, and he smashed it with Levy 2. I was not expecting that, so since then I've had a lot of respect for his play, and I've recorded a fair few of his games, and really enjoy watching them and trying to learn from them. So definitely a player to look out for. And so I thought, right, well, this is a fitting round 3. This is going to be a great game. And I've no idea what he plays in bio. Frankly, I don't think he knows what he plays in bio. And so I decided to simply not try and counter what he was doing, but again, sort of give the game the respect it deserved. Look at the pool, look at the table, and consider the general bio options, and go from there. In the end, that led me back to Lin 2. So I felt like Lin 2, with In Your Face, Let Them Bleed, Plant Explosives, Espionage, and Deathbeds, and Take Prisoner, it looked really good for Lin. And I decided to go with a very, very aggressive approach, and I went with Let Them Bleed and In Your Face, and having Than to do his unresisted 4-inch pulse for damage to get that second point of Let Them Bleed is really good. And I very purposefully hunted down his healer immediately. He decided to go with Zip. So it was Lin 2 against Zip 1. Zip with cups of coffee for diversion, and that was a real pain in the dick. So first mate was there, as you might imagine, and I took Amanozako to sort of be able to hunt first mate down. Our local bio plays quite a lot of first mate. I'm not unfamiliar, and so I thought, right, I'll slowly hunt him down, and that's very good for Let Them Bleed, because that's sort of doing what I want to do anyway, which is hunt this butterfly jumping cunt down before he can plant explosives all over my side of the map. And he will spend stones and escape and spend cards and resources to protect him, but meanwhile, by doing so, he'll leave the guy on half or less, and all I need to do then is target Mancha, which was his other sizable beater. He also had a Skeeter and Big Brain Brin. So I needed to deal with Mancha. Mancha was a bit annoying because of Juggernaut, able to self-heal, but we ended up in a bit of a scrum, a group bubble fight on the side of the map, and then there was another fight going on in the middle, which was a bookkeeper and Than and the rabbit versus Zip and First Mate, and then Amanozako got involved in that one because she just went wherever First Mate went. And so that was a really, really interesting opening to the game. I charged at him with Lin, started putting some damage into Bo. Bo then heals himself. He goes after Wukong with Mancha, because Wukong had 2 bomb tokens on him. Wukong is unbelievably mobile, unbelievably hard to lock down, and very hard to kill if you can't get around his demise, because he just heals and buries and then reappears and plants bombs in the back line. So an amazing model. In general, because he knows that I want to stay in the back line and drop bombs and generally be annoying, he decided to take Prisoner on Wukong. Solid choice in terms of very, very certainly scoring 1 point. It's the reason why I don't like Take Prisoner. I don't like 1 point schemes, but there was a reasonable chance of getting the second point as well. So he decided to very, very early go after Wukong with his Skeeter and get that first point, and sort of force me to try and finish the game on my own half with Wukong. But by scoring the first point of Take Prisoner so early, he gave me a lot of time to prepare to bring Wukong back. And I was able to deny the second point because Wukong's maneuverability by punching stuff and then placing within 2 inches and then bonusing another 5 away and blah, 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 just makes it so incredibly difficult to pin Wukong down. So, yeah, he got 1 point for Take Prisoner. I thought he was going to go for In Your Face because Mancha was trying to kill stuff near my Lin, and he had Zip near my Than, and he was putting a lot of damage into Than early with his gun, double focus, walk, shoot with focus into Than. And so I thought, oh, okay, it's In Your Face and something else. And I thought it was going to be Espionage, but it wasn't. It was Take Prisoner. Sorry, I thought it was going to be an Espionage. And it was Espionage, but it was Espionage and Take Prisoner rather than In Your Face and Espionage, which is a bit confusing, but that's how it worked out. My bookkeepers, I should have... One of the biggest mistake in the game that I made was I saw a play to try and deny Espionage, so I brought a bookkeeper that had a bomb back towards First Mate to try and deal some damage to him. I knew that he couldn't afford to butterfly away, because if he did, he was stood on a bomb, and I would be able to then bonus, interact, and remove the bomb. So I thought, right, I'll get 2 attacks off here. I'll be able to min 2 him twice, or 1 and remove a scheme marker, and then min 2, possibly 3. So it's going going to put some good damage into first mate, allow Amanozako to potentially finish him off. It's also going to put pressure on him because he's going to have to try and keep this bomb safe. But in the end, all it did was gave him a target to steal a bomb from, to put it onto first mate, to be able to then go and plant more bombs. So, and also it meant that my planting of bombs was then really pressurized on Wukong, and Wukong had to be on his table half, which made it slightly harder to get him back over the line for take prisoner avoidance on the second point. So, scrappy game. Mancha took bloody ages to kill, but by keeping him and Bo and Brain in Lin's no-suit cheating aura, and keeping Raijin there, so trying to stun people and moving around, keeping Wukong there, just keeping everybody at 2-inch reach, making it difficult for them, having to do a lot of disengage and then fly with me and then something. So I think it was quite efficient, and eventually Lin was able to beat the crap out of Bo, beat the crap out of Mancha, score Let Them Bleed. During that process, I'm doing enough ping damage that essentially, once I'd killed his healer and then dealt with Mancha, he didn't have any healing left and everyone was already damaged. So I'd effectively scored Let Them Bleed second point already, didn't need to worry about it, just needed to worry about bombs and getting the In Your Face. So In Your Face was done by killing Mancha, and then it was a case of getting Amanozako safely to the other end. Amanozako wanted to be hunting this first mate, and I think that was where some of the choices that I made were a little bit iffy, because I knew I wanted to chase this first mate to death, but I couldn't chase him any further because he went all the way into my back lines, and I couldn't bring Amanozako there because she needed to go and stay in his deployment to score second part of In Your Face. So instead I decided to, after she'd done quite a bit of damage to first mate, I sent her off to kill Burns and deny him from trying to help with espionage. I thought that'll hopefully force other models to have to do what Burns would otherwise kind of do for free. So kill him, drop Amanozako's bomb safely in the back lines, so I don't have to worry about that. So ammo was useful, but I think sort of because I wanted to chase first mate and because she was my only In Your Face second point target, that was a little bit inefficient, and the bookkeeper that went after first mate should have just gone and scored a bomb for sure instead of chasing down the first mate, but that was all right. The rest of the game was scrappy and at a decent level, and I really enjoyed it, and in the end I managed to take it by a couple of points because largely because of sort of getting that Let Them Bleed In Your Face that he was expecting In Your Face, but he wasn't expecting Let Them Bleed as well. Didn't really see that coming, and as a result I sort of got two scheme points that he wasn't really banking on. He thought that I was maybe struggling to score my second scheme, and I wasn't, so that really put things in my favor. Again, Lin's crew, specifically the bookkeepers and so on, really brought the cards to help me a lot. I know he had a lot of showboating, so he wasn't short on cards himself, but we were able to really match his resources, defend a lot of big attacks that would have otherwise been very impactful. And I can't remember the Joker balance in that game, but I feel like it was probably on my side. So I think Jokers overall in the day probably lent me a hand, which was very nice. And in the end, we ended up with no undefeated. Well, we had several undefeated players, but we had nobody that went 3-0. So we had 3 players who had 2 wins, 0 losses, and 1 draw. That would be myself, Oldedesse, and Yuri Karesh, who was our local bio player. And then we had Irenka, who went 1 win, 0 losses, and 2 draws, which put him in 7th place, but technically undefeated, and we all know technically correct, the best kind of correct. So Oldedesse won the tournament. I came in 2nd place, and I think this was done based on margin of victory, I want to say, and Jurka in 3rd place. So that was fantastic. Really enjoyed it. Fantastic event, fantastic opponents, and as I say, really brought a smile to my face to see the 2 communities that I mainly play with coming together and getting to meet each other and having a good time. It was great. Right, this video I feel like has probably already been far too long, so I'm going to wrap it up and call it there. I hope you're all well. I'm going to be putting out another couple of recordings very soon from some recent Malifaux games. That's my Vassal event, 4th round, and I also recorded the 4th round from Pope and his opponent. I can't remember who it was, but yeah, those will be coming to the channel soon as well. I hope you're all well. Take care, and I'll see you for the next one.